my loves, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make Jamaican black castor oil at home. Now this is a simple 4-step process that anyone can follow. For today's tutorial, of course, you're going to need castor oil seeds, and if you haven't watched part 1 of this 2-part series, then I would highly recommend that you go and check it out. Part 1 pretty much talks about the origin and all about castor oil seeds. And you're going to need a container, some water, and your mortar. I want to point out that a food processor can be used in place of the mortar because a food processor would actually save you a lot of time and energy. But if you don't have a food processor, then a mortar would be the second best option. And it's pretty much what I've seen my father, grandmother, and a lot of other persons use when making castor oil. So now that we have all the equipment ready, let's get right into the tutorial. Step 1 of this process involves parching the castor oil seeds. So that means you need to put a pot on your stove and put the castor oil seeds inside. Now, the time that you put the castor oil seeds inside for is dependent on 1, the amount of castor oil seeds that you're using, and 2, how high your flame is. So I cannot say go 5 to 10 minutes because it's really dependent on those 2 factors, but what I can say is that the more seeds you use, the more oil you will produce. So for today's video, I will not be getting a lot of oil, but regardless, I still wanted to make this video to show you guys how you can go about producing oils from the castor oil beans. You want to ensure that you stir the beans to avoid them burning up and to ensure that the heat is evenly distributed, and you want to do this every few minutes. And once you see steam coming out of the pot, like it's really hot and the beans starting to pop, then you know that it is time to take it off. Now we're moving on to step 2, which is my least favorite part of this process. It is the beating process. Now the beating process takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy. So I recommend using a food processor if you have one, because that will save you so much time and so much energy. However, if you're planning on using a mortar, use a bigger size mortar. I initially thought that the mortar that I was buying was a lot bigger than this. So when I got this and I saw it in person, I was really surprised because it was really small. But I was like, I already bought it, so I'm going to make use of it. So it took me a lot longer to actually beat the beans. I had to separate it into around 3 different batches. Because as I said earlier, when you're doing this, you want to ensure that the beans are beat properly. So as you can see here, it is starting to beat, but it was not fully done. Because when you beat the beans, you want to ensure that you end up with a smooth looking paste. And the smoother the paste is, the better. And it is even better when you're beating and you see oil starting to produce. That is when you will get the full benefits of the beans. But if you do it and it's half done, then you're not going to get the amount of oil that you should or you would want to get. So it's best to beat it fully and beat it into a smooth looking paste, as you will get more oil. So here I just wanted to show a quick comparison of what the seeds look like originally and what it looks like in a 75% beaten state, and you can see the drastic difference. Once you've finished beating the castor oil beans, it is now time to move on to step 3, which is adding some water to a pot. Now we are going to need to wait until the water heats up or it starts to boil. And once it starts to boil, then you're going to go ahead and add your crushed castor oil bean paste to the water. This part of the process is the most time consuming part because it does take around 40 minutes to an hour, and the more seeds that you use, it's the longer it's going to take. So I would recommend doing this on coal or some wood fire because it's going to take a lot of your gas to get this process done. Once the bubbling reaches to the point where you see some foam forming on the top, then you need to monitor this as closely as possible and you need to stir it every few minutes to avoid it bubbling over, because it is going to rise in the pot, and if it boils over, then the oil will be wasted because the oil is actually what is forming on top of this mixture right here. So you need to ensure that you're monitoring it to prevent it from boiling over. Now we're moving on to step 4A, because part 4 is actually 2 parts, and part A is actually skimming the oil from this oil or mixture and putting it into another container or a pot. So once you skim off all the oil off the top of the mixture, you're going to put it into a pot and basically quote unquote fry it. And it is completely fine to get water into this as well, because all the water will be evaporated and the oil will be left behind. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, the more seeds you use, the more oils it will produce. And right here, as you can see, there isn't much oil on top of this mixture because I did not use a lot of seeds. So if you want a lot of oil, use a lot of seeds. So you're basically going to do this process until you've reached a point where you feel you've taken off most of the oil, if not all the oil, and then you're going to put it into a pot and boil it or fry it. This part of the process does not take a very long time. You're just going to wait until the brown that you see starts to become a darker color, and then we can move on to step 4B, which is actually transferring the oil into another pot and frying it once more. And after this, you're simply going to get a container, get a strainer over your container or a piece of cloth, and you're simply going to strain your mixture and you will be able to have your oil. Because castor oil is so thick, I would advise leaving it to be strained for a few minutes, preferably 5, 10, 15 minutes. So this will give you all the time for the oil to actually be separated from the sediments, because you don't want any sediment in your oil. And that's pretty much how you'd go about making Jamaican black castor oil at home. So I've been using castor oil since I was about 16 years old. It's the oil that I would say that I use mostly in my hair. I try to incorporate it in butters, in wash day, and everything that I do, because it does have a lot of benefit for your hair, and I like how it makes my hair feel and the results that I've been getting over the years. So if you guys like this video, or if you found this video interesting, then please leave a comment, or if you are new, then subscribe. So stick around until the end of the video to see the amount of oil that I actually gathered from this process. But that's pretty much the end of the video, and until next time, bye my loves.